Hello, boys and girls. We are on lesson 40, which means we only have today and one more to do. And honestly, the one more is kind of a bonus one. You're going to hear scratching. It's Penny at the door. She was not in here, and so I closed it. So hopefully I don't have to interrupt this. All right, so we're actually kind of going back to the line plot, which we did, I don't know, how many lessons ago? 10-ish lessons ago? So close to that. And remember, at the end of every module, we always have like a word problem page. That's what this one is. So we're using a line plot that we've already kind of done before, and answering some questions about it. So nothing is new today. It's just all kind of a review, but it'll be definitely good to do. I'm going to make the line plot, but I'm going to have to erase it because I don't have big enough space to put everything. So just so you know, we don't really need to keep it the whole time. We can just use the chart. I actually made it on my paper though, just so I could refer to it if I needed to. So, all right, if we look at the data, so the first part says the chart to the right shows the height of some football players. A is use the data to create a line plot at the bottom of the page. So go all the way to the bottom underneath the chart itself, and that's where you're going to make your line plot. So the first thing we need to figure out is what whole number we need to start with and what whole number we need to end with. So if we look through A through J, we have 6 1/4, 5 7/8, 6 1/2. So just kind of skim through those. I don't see a whole number less than 5. So that's going to be my starting point for my number line. I don't know how well I'm going to fit this on here, and if you look at the biggest whole number we see 6, but that doesn't mean we can just stop at 6, because it's like 6 5/8, 6 1/8, 6 2/8, 6 1/2, which means we need to go to 7. So I'm actually going to do this not upside down because I have just a small space to use. I know, crazy, right? I could, but I'm going to do this my way. So 5, 6, and 7. So we have our 5, 6, and 7 here. Okay. Now maybe I'll do some of it upside down. And I see a lot of 8s, and I see 4ths, and I see halves. Now we know that halves would be the easiest to draw on here, right? But that's not going to be the best thing to do. So should we do it in 4ths? That means we would have to change all the 8s to 4ths. Is that the right thing to do? No. So we're going to do everything in 8ths, okay? Because that's the smallest unit, so that's what we need to do. All right, so we make 7 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ooh, that wasn't very good, huh? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That one was better. So each of these is 5 1/8. So each of these is, you add on an 8. So this is 5 2/8. Now, on my line plot at the bottom of the page, I could fit it all. This whiteboard, I can't fit it all. So I'm actually going to not put the whole number. I'm just going to put the fraction right now because I can't fit it. But don't do that, please. Please write the whole thing if you can. So this is 5 7/8. So this is 6 1/8. 2 8s, 3 8s, 4 8s. But remember, it's 6 and 5 8s, 6 8s, 7 8s. Again, please make sure that you are, actually I could kind of fit the 6 in, the 5. I know it looks like just a jumble of numbers now, but all right, so now we have to go and we have to figure, wait a minute, they're not all in 8s, are they? There's 1 1/2 in a half, and there's 2 in fourths. So you could figure out where half would be, and that's an easy one for us here, right? Because 4/8. And you could figure out where quarters are. And I know that quarters are here and here. But if you're not, if that just doesn't kind of pop in your head right away, we know how to find equivalent fractions. So like the very first one in A, it says 6 1/4. How do we make that into eighths? Well, we know 4 times 2 would be 8, right? That says plus. So we can do 1 times 2. So to make this eighths, we have 6 2/8. So what I did on my chart was I immediately went and made everything into eighths. So there was only 3 that I had to do. So A is 6 2/8. C was 6 1/2. And you guys are so good at fractions, you already know that it's 4/8. But this is how we figure it out. 2 times what is 8? Okay, 4. So what you do to the top, you do to the bottom. What you do to the bottom, you do to the top. So it's 6 4/8. So I just wrote it right on my chart, 6 4/8. And then we have 6 1/4, which we've already done, is 6 2/8. So now you get to go on your number line and you just make X's. See, this is not that bad. So A is going to be 6 2/8. So I go to 6 2/8 and I make an X. I don't have to put an A. I don't have to put anything else, just an X. B is 5 7/8, which is right here. C is 6 4/8. So 6 4/8. D is 6 2/8 because we changed it. So 6 2/8. E is 6 2/8. Ooh, look at all these 6 2/8. F is 5 7/8. G is 6 1/8. H is 6 5/8. I is 5 6/8. And J is 6 1/8. And that looks like what I did before. So wonderful. So there's our line plot. It's really not that bad, is it? Yeah, we can do it. Okay, so now I have to erase this in order to do the problems. So the problems, we have to figure out, are we adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing? What are we doing? Well, we didn't divide, so don't have to worry about that. What is the height difference of the tallest and the shortest players? So if I had kept my number line, or my line plot, excuse me, and number line, I would have been able to see which one's the tallest and the shortest. And since I have my line plot already on my paper, I can see the tallest is 6 5/8. And you can just look on the chart for that too. There's no problem with that. The shortest was 5 6/8. Yep. Okay, so what do we do to find the difference? We subtract. Now, can we do 5 minus 6? Nope. So take 1 away from the 6, make it a 5. This becomes 8/8, right? 1 whole is 8/8. So then we go back and we add those together. So we have 5 13/8 minus 5 6/8. Okay, 5 minus 5 is 0. 13 minus 6 is 7/8. There's your answer. So, of course, write it in an answer statement. The difference of the height of the tallest and shortest players is 7/8 feet. Okay, so there's B. C, player 1 and nope, that's not 1, that's an I. Player I and B have a combined height that is 1 1/8 feet taller than a school bus. What is the height of a school bus? Okay, so this one is harder to do, but the best thing to do is to draw it, okay? So I'm going to have P for players. Player I and B. So one is, or I is 5 6/8, and player B, right, is 5 7/8. So they said the bus is 1 1/8 shorter than. So here's the bus. This part is 1 1/8 feet, of course. Taller than the school bus. So basically, we're going to try to figure out the bus. So looking at this diagram, what do we need to do? The first, there's going to be 2 steps. First step is to combine these and then subtract this. It's not that complicated. Once I drew it out, I knew what I needed to do. So we do 5 6/8 plus 5 7/8. 5 and 5 is 10, and we add our fractions. 6 and 7 is 13/8. Now, we cannot leave it like that, can we? You can pull out 8/8, or you could go and divide it. That's fine. And I'm left with 5/8, so that's 1 whole. So I add those together, and I have 11 and 5/8. Now, I'm not done. I still need to subtract the 1 1/8. Now, this is an easy one. Now you're like, oh, now I have to subtract. It's not that bad. 1 1/8. So take your whole numbers. Sorry, it doesn't look like an 11 anymore. I know that I can do 5 minus 1, so I don't need to regroup at all. 11 minus 1 is 10. 5 minus 1 is 4/8. So there's our answer. Wasn't that bad, was it? And this is in feet. And write your answer statement. The height of the school bus is 10 4/8 feet. And look at that. We're on the back and we only have 3 more to go. One of the players on the team is now 4 times as tall as he was at birth when he measured 1 5/8 feet. Who is the player? Oh. So at birth, we're going to write B for birth. He was 1 5/8. Now, I'll write N for now. He's 4 of those. So what do? We multiply. 4 times 1 5/8. So we distribute our 4 to both of those. So that's 4 times 1 plus 4 times 5/8. 4 times 1 is 4 plus 28. So go off to the side. 8 goes into 20 twice. 2 times 8 is 16. 4/8. So it's 2 4/8. So it's 4 plus 2 4/8. I don't know if you can see this not well. 4 plus 2 is 6 4/8. So the question though is, who is the player? So we know that the player is 6 4/8 feet tall. So we go back and we say, well, where's 6 4/8? Now you might not see it unless you were like me and you wrote it on the chart, boys and girls. Right on the chart, when I had to find an equivalent fraction, I wrote what my answer was. So if you go and you wrote it down, it is player C. 6 4/8 is the same as 6 1/2. And I bet you knew that. Excellent job. So then write your answer statement. C. 6 of the players on the team weigh over 300 pounds. Doctors recommend that players of this weight drink at least 3 3/4 quarts of water each day. At least how much water should be consumed per day by all 6 players? Okay, so if I draw this out, I'm going to have a tape diagram with 6 parts, and in each part I'm going to have 3 3/4, right? Because each of those 6 players needs to drink 3 3/4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 3 3/4. Okay, so what do? I multiply. So 6 times 3 3/4. See, you thought these were going to get harder, but they're actually getting easier. 6 times 3 plus 6 times 3/4. 6 times 3 is 18 plus 6 times 3 is 18/4. You can go off to the side and figure out. It is 4 times 4 is 16. Subtract 2/4. So we have 18 plus 4 and 2/4. 18 plus 4 is 22 and 2/4. So the answer is 22 and 2/4 quarts of water a day should be consumed by all 6 players. Look at that. We got it. Last one is also not that bad. 9 of the players on the team weigh about 200 pounds. Doctors recommend that people of this weight each eat about 3 7/10 grams of carbohydrates per pound each day. It's a weird recommendation. About how many combined grams of carbohydrates should these 9 players eat per pound each day? So again, it's not as complicated as they're making it seem. We have our 9 players, and they each need to eat 3 7/10. Yeah. Okay. So let's distribute our 9. 9 times 3 plus 9 times 7/10. 9 times 3, 9, 18, 27. Plus 9 times, 63 tenths. I know that 10 goes into 63 6 times because 10 times 6 is 60. And then I have 3 left over. So it's 27 plus 6 and 3 tenths. Do you see how I did that? You can also, of course, go off to the side and say how many times does 10 go into 63. But if you count by tens, you'll get 6 times. And I shall subtract. See what I did? But I was able to do it mentally, which is nice. So 27 plus 6 would be 33 and 3 tenths. Right? 33? Yes. So there you go. There is lesson 40 problem set. Not nearly as bad. Had a nice review of the line plot too. All right, one more to go.